Well, we always say that F1 has a lighter side. It's not going to be me since I've put on a few kgs last year. The lighter side of F1 comes with the Formula One humor that F1 provides. The one that automatically generates out of headlines. And Kunal Shah is going to agree with Rishi Kapoor's this very statement when I say Raikkonen turns around and says F1 should be more challenging for drivers. Kimi Raikkonen, who failed to beat his teammate last year, of course, I'm going to give it to him. Last year was a new year. This year again, he fails to rise to Vettel's level as far as qualifying is concerned. He has challenges enough on his plate to be saying this.
Absolutely. And I don't know if he can rise up to more challenges at the moment. Listen, for everyone listening, we really love Raikkonen.
We love him. We absolutely adore him.
Yeah, for his racing, for his media interviews, and for his magnum love.
Yes.
Okay. But we already believe he has enough challenges on his plate. Please deal with them before asking for more challenging cars.
And I believe he knows what he's doing. So. Well, another lol moment for us came when we read about this new tender opening up for an F1 team, and I don't know how many cars are there going to be there on a grid, but a GP2 team says, I am ART, I'm interested.
Yes, and that to me is also a lol moment. Here we are struggling to keep teams on the grid, and teams are fighting for costs and income and all that. And suddenly one team comes and says, hey, we'll have a new team. And there is also talk that it will be a McLaren B team.
McLaren B team.
Yeah.
So McLaren is going to start a Toro Rosso of their own.
Oh yeah, you could say that, or like a Ferrari Sauber relationship, or whatever you call it.
So McLaren is the only team that is struggling to run a A team and is now thinking of a B team. And Ron Dennis has turned around and said that choosing a driver is not only about talent. Now, this to me is the most hilarious thing he's ever said, because his is the only team that has two drivers absolutely based on talent.
Yeah, I mean, you mean the only bottom field team, right? Let's see how long that lasts. If McLaren languishes at the bottom, you never know if they sign up paid drivers from next year. And just before we started recording, I read somewhere that Ron Dennis has asked Denmark to back their F1 hero Kevin Magnussen. I don't know the word hero yet, but Kevin Magnussen.
Really?
So maybe this is their ploy, get into paid driver mode if they don't start becoming a midfield team soon.
Midfield, bottom or top, well, you all like your belongings. You keep them locked inside a very good safe. And Red Bull actually did not take Godrej locks for their for their race trophies, and they lost a few. Of course, they found some burglars who were responsible for the theft, and they put them behind the bars. But my deal is, they couldn't reach us ever.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. I mean, technically they've imprisoned a few people who I know are not people behind the burglary. Okay. And honestly, the only place they can find us is currently the internet,
Yes, we actually gave the trophies, the imaginary trophies out on the 2015 podcast awards. So you can't get to us. We're like, when it comes to awards and internet and F1, we're like
everywhere.
Yeah, actually we're like Neo and Morpheus, we're just on the internet, can't be found anywhere else.
So we're on YouTube, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Last.fm, TuneIn Radio, Spreaker, Stitcher, Dailymotion, your favorite one, I know.
I don't even know half of these things, and it's just too savvy for me. Maybe Formula One is a bit too savvy for the Indian GP. It doesn't look like it's coming back any soon. But Bernie is using it like scapegoat. He's jumping the gun here, and he's saying, well, I could get the Indian GP back, etc. But I feel there's a hidden motive here, Kunal.
Obviously, he's using the Indian Grand Prix to try and instigate Monza into signing soon, because now we're at the risk of losing Monza on the circuit.
That is just dismal, because when you start losing circuits like Hockenheim and Spa is a bit threatened, I don't know what's going to happen with Formula One, but I do know that Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the Canadian Grand Prix, is here to stay, because they've just signed a huge deal which keeps them on the calendar for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I do know that the Canadian Grand Prix is going to be there till 2024. But I don't so much know about the sport at the current moment. But on the note of the Indian Grand Prix, I can tell you, Rishi, it's a very, very, very big challenge. There is no achhe din for Indian motorsport anytime soon.
Alright. Reiterating, achhe din in India usually signifies good days, and I don't think Renault is planning it good for themselves in the future, because they're confused now. They're saying, okay, we want to be as a works team in F1. They were engine suppliers, constructors, again engine suppliers, constructors, back and forth and back, and changing partners every single time. I don't understand where they're going actually.
They seem like a troubled teenager, right? I mean, just in teens, pre-teens, early teens, turning young adults, constantly changing relationship status, like you said, changing partners, etc. But the main point is, even if they want to come back as a supplier, which is what they've done in the last, I think, 5, 7 years, move in, move out.
Correct.
Will Bernie treat them the way he treats the other car manufacturers?
Very important point here. The pie of the Formula One that gets distributed among different teams as works teams and customer teams, which we're actually hinting at the money pie here.
Absolutely. And, it's like this. If I was Renault, I would possibly buy a Red Bull Racing because then I'm guaranteed that I will get $80 million every year to go racing, as opposed to the rumors of me already having bought Lotus, because Lotus gets no preferential treatment.
Well, on the note of Red Bull, I must come back saying that Max Verstappen, he's already got the eye of the media. He's already gutsy. He has what it takes. I believe he and Sainz are at par. Well, they both have their immaturities and maturities. But there's a rumor that he might be, pushed into the Red Bull Racing team very soon as next year.
Yeah, it's an interesting rumor. In my belief, this rumor is to, indicate to Daniel Kvyat that he needs to pick up the pace and go faster, etc. But it also showcases how so competitive is the Red Bull Racing driver program.
I know you can't go wrong. You've got to prove yourself all the way. And the fact that these guys are young and budding and the PR machines.
Yeah, like look at Kvyat. He was like till last year the prodigy that was there. Suddenly this year, halfway or nearly halfway through the season, he's looking like he's dodgy. And he also knows that at best, Red Bull Racing will give him 2 seasons. And if he doesn't do well, Max Verstappen or Carlos Sainz might just take his place.
And that's why they shouldn't quit Formula One, because, well, they have the seeds and the fodder to make good F1 drivers and good F1, if I may put it that way.
Absolutely.
Okay, when it comes to good F1, we want the race to go back into the driver's hands and the driving skills to enhance, etc., etc. That's what Kimi's been asking for. Human telemetry by FIA. What FIA has said is, if the drivers are so important and probably the most integral part of the car, then there should be a live temperature and blood pressure, etc. measurements of their vitals, and this should be shown on the TV screens. I mean, isn't it a great thing that we get to know that how fast a driver's heart actually beats, and when people don't think they're athletes?
Yeah, so tell me one corner, okay, where you would love to see the driver's vital signs in Formula One.
Okay, this is going to be a huge list.
One corner.
Urush. Okay, your turn.
I'd say Parabolica, Blanchimont. I would probably want to see Michael Schumacher's heart signs when he parked up at La Rascas as well. So. But you know what? Even more so, it'll be fun to see drivers' heartbeats while they're battling wheel to wheel.
Oh yeah, that'll be really nice. I mean, because these days there's no wheel to wheel battle; it's DRS to DRS battle. And before the overtaking move is done, it's actually done.
You mean it's more of an anti-climax than a climax now, right?
Yeah, it's really dismal, at times, but that's the way Formula One is. And that's not the only thing Formula One is confused about. It's also confused about alcohol bans, okay? They came up with no tobacco sponsorships on the car. Now there's going to be a no alcohol sponsorship on the car. See, I'm not talking about the glam and the glitz of Formula One. That can't be complete without tobacco and alcohol. But what I'm coming to is Formula One is struggling to make money, and alcohol, I believe, pays a lot of money.
Yeah, because see, alcohol is a very restrictive media category. For example, in India, you can't out and out go and promote yourself, which is why you have, sub categories like you have water and you have soda, etc. you sell through. So they use platforms like Formula One to reach out to their end audiences. Okay, so cutting down a category which is a heavy spender is a no-no. Okay, but having said that, I don't see why the FIA can't use "Do Not Drink and Drive" as a campaign through Formula One, because A, it's a global problem. It is across caste, creed, sex barriers, and even language barriers.
Correct.
So use the platform of Formula One to spread the message.
And who do you think will be the face of the campaign?
I know who you're hinting at. Why don't you say it, my friend?
Leave me alone, I know what I'm doing. Yes, it's Kimi Raikkonen that we're talking about, but well, if it's not going to be alcohol, it's going to be a Magnum stick, I believe.
But see, on this point, the FIA already has a platform called as Make Roads Safe.
Correct. And Bernie has huge branding in terms of think before you drive. And both Kunal and I have come up with this conclusion that this is exclusively for Pastor Maldonado. A message that he should be thinking. This year he's been outright unlucky because I believe it's not been his.
Wow, we now have a Maldonado fan in the
I
house.
am not. Okay, don't judge me. I'm not cheating anyone here. But what I'm trying to say is this year he has been a little unlucky. Let's not be very hard on him. The whole world is. But yes, people are hard on F1. F1 about to change rules again. F1 wants to be more noisy. It should be more noisy. And in 2016, they're thinking of using twin exhausts. And they might want to up the decibels a bit with that.
I really hope they do that because fans have been complaining since last year. And Rishi, this is where if there were NBA style product and marketing managers running, we would have already had louder engines in place. You're suddenly looking to do it 2 years after your consumer has complained. It's like you go and buy a chocolate today and it turns out to be a bad chocolate. You write to the company and the company writes back, thank you very much, but we'll introduce a new chocolate only 2 years later. There is a higher chance you'll buy the competitor's chocolate. In this case, probably Formula E, I guess.
That's going to be a little dark chocolate. Okay. Flavio Berrettori. I don't know how to pronounce his name sometimes.
Thank you, Rishi.
Flavio, I'm going to do this right now. Flavio Berrettori. Okay, I've got it. Flavio said that, F1 is the main product and racing is the main product. So it's racing first, engineering later.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit of, him listening to our podcast.
Absolutely. He must be our biggest fan. More so because they have nothing to do with F1 anymore. All right. For him, it's racing first.
Yes.
Cheating second. And engineering third.
Yes, Mr. Crashgate. Absolutely.
Okay. Another guy who's respected quite a lot across the paddock is Gerhard Berger, and he said,
"You mean the burger? Which burger?"
This is the one I got with my Happy Meal. He's come up with a statement which makes a lot of sense. F1 is the only sport where actually the competitors, the participants, get to decide the rules of the sport. Now that never happens in any other sport. It's quite actually
that's an interesting analogy. Okay, but also, given the unique nature of Formula One, where the teams are investing hundreds and millions of dollars and they are hell bent on keeping on doing so for the next century to come. It only makes sense that you take their inputs before making rules up because ultimately they are the ones who are spending the money to make a product.
We're talking about costs and money and product, etc. Another product of Formula One is the $100 million racing car driver Lewis Hamilton. Max Mosley has come up with a very valid point again. Little ambiguous in its own way. Max Mosley has turned around and said it's absurd. The costs in F1s are absurd, but it also contributes to the money you pay to the drivers. So if you're paying a driver $100 million, you've got to cut down on that because that's also money saving when you do that.
Yes, it's an interesting point. And see, my view is that Mercedes isn't paying Lewis $100 million for racing.
Yes.
They're paying Lewis $100 million for the brand Lewis Hamilton.
Yes.
Okay, and globally Mercedes is facing a big problem that it is seen as a car that my father and my grandfather used to drive. So the younger audiences aren't taking to it. So yes and no, yes, you're paying him a lot of money, but you're clearly paying him that money from a corporate angle point of view as well. And I'm sure it's split between his racing duties and endorsement duties as well.
And also buying some dog food for Roscoe. I'm sure that's a lot of, and some bling that he wears these days. Hamilton, on the other hand, has been voted as the best driver on the circuit right now by almost all the team bosses.
Oh my God, this podcast is going to be 30 minutes more long.
Do we agree with it? Well, he's the boss of the car. He's really unbeatable this year. He's looking really good inside it. I believe in the first 2 years of Mercedes, I could say he and Nico Rosberg were like absolutely neck and neck. But in the last 2 years, he's really shown the upper hand. And also he's a great marketing gimmick. Somehow Sebastian has never been able to be the people's champion like Michael was.
Yeah,
I think Lewis is the closest we'll get to.
Yeah, in the grid where you have Vettel, Raikkonen, Alonso, even Button. From a pure talent point of view, I would possibly rate Hamilton as one of the best drivers at the moment. But when you see as an overall package, I guess he'll probably be in my top 3 and nowhere close.
But Canadian GP is actually one of my top 3 GPs to watch because it's always entertaining. Okay, quick question. Is it Gilles Villeneuve or Giles Villeneuve or Gil? Okay, I don't know how to say this.
Well, I'm an Indian, Rishi. I believe in making pronunciations the Indian way. I call it Gilles de Villeneuve circuit. I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's wrong. Canada is one of our biggest markets.
Yes.
Maybe some of our fans could write back to us and tell us whether the pronunciation is right.
Okay, I love the fact that this track is really challenging. It gets the tires working. It gets the drivers working.
It's high speed,
very
something
high
that
speed.
Formula One doesn't really have. I'll be very interested in comparing this year's lap times to possibly the last 5-10 editions we've had to see what is the, when you go to an out and out speed circuit, what is the relative difference?
The Wall of Champions is, I believe, somewhere everybody crashes, and I won't blame if I see Pastor's front wing lying somewhere there.
His best way to prove a point that he's also a champion.
Or a champion in the making. Battle of the engines, in the true sense, Ferrari is rumored to get upgrades. Mercedes is rumored to get upgrades, get more. Canada is the best place. You can define it and judge it.
Renault, on the other hand, is bringing some more reliability-related upgrades. So at least Renaults will finish the race, if not the fastest and the first.
The only thing that actually runs in a Red Bull car after the race is over is the driver. I think everything else just breaks down. They just start sticking it.
But Rishi, what is your best memory of Canada? Come on.
My best memory is of Canada.
You are the Wikipedia of the inside line.
Last year's crash between Massa and Sergio Perez, a lot of people still disagree on whose mistake it was, but he has one of the very frightening memories. My favorite memories being Ralf Schumacher winning his race against Michael there, Robert Kubica having that very, very tough accident and then again winning.
And his first and only win for
BMW, where he was rated, wow, he's the next Ferrari driver, etc. Jenson Button winning.
Yeah, he clashed with Lewis on the main straight some 5 years ago also.
Yes, it's the same race where Michael actually showed that when the conditions are mixed, he's actually much better than Nico Rosberg. Then he got overtaken by everyone else.
I really hope we don't have a boring race this weekend.
I'm hoping not. If not here in Brazil, then you can't get an interesting race anywhere.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's an interesting point.
Tyre's going to be key again. Like I said, I'm looking at a 3-stopper because, well, the red tire and the yellow tire will degrade a lot faster. So it's going to be a very, very interesting qualifying where teams are going to try and save that one tire, that one red tire.
Yeah, that's interesting because if you need 3 stops, you need to save a tire.
Yes, you need
Which
4
then
tires.
brings me that maybe this is also where Ferrari could somewhere mount a challenge to Mercedes again.
Well, if the temperatures are high, then yes, Mercedes will have the problem. But let's not forget, if the temperatures are low and you change tires many a times, Mercedes gets their tire to heat up much better than Ferrari do.
Wow, now I understand when a layman says that Formula One is complex. Really is.
It is complex, but we try and break it, dissect it, simplify it, and make it a little funny. At times, we do, get some juice out of it. My name is Rishi Kapoor. Kunal Shah is actually scratching his head, and we're both thinking who the top 3 are going to be. Lewis Hamilton is going to be.
Damn it.